Anyways. Hello plant pals, and welcome to another video. My name is Kenna and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Today we are going to be talking about some of my favorite plants in the last month. There are a few of them, I will say, and I'm definitely guilty of making favorites of the ones that I see every single day. So that's not to say I don't love every plant in my collection, but the ones that are front and center right now are definitely catching my attention, especially as some of them start growing. So I'm really excited to share this with you, and if you like this kind of video, leave me a thumbs up. Let's get into it. So I do want to start off by saying I did not think I was going to get a video filmed this week. I am quite honestly shocked that I found the time to get this video filmed at all. So I am really excited to actually be able to sit down with you guys this week and have some time to just talk about plants. Plants for me are my decompression time of the week. Most of the time, right now especially, my week is taken up with work and school and just other responsibilities. So getting to actually spend time talking about my hobbies, talking about something that I really love is really nice for me. So I really appreciate it, and thank you guys so much for being here. So hi, I'm just gonna come up here. There you go. Hi, say hi to your fans. Say hi to your fans. You got a ton of fans. Yeah, everybody wants to see the corgi. I told him specifically not to bust my lip open this week, so hopefully he'll listen. Yeah, let's not bust my lip open again. Thanks, buds. So first up on my list of favorites is one you guys have definitely seen, and that is my Choco Red. I absolutely love this plant, and even though this most recent leaf came out a little bit torn and damaged, I think just from low humidity and probably just shifting environments too, that's really stressful on plants, and not every plant handles it super well. And considering that this is a velvety leaf, I really expected it to go a lot worse, so that's good. But I do see this one every day. It is kind of in a prime position on one of my bookshelves right out the door, so it's really easy to walk past it and see it all the time. And because of that, I have just been starstruck by these leaves lately. I know that they're still pretty small, and El Chocos can get huge, and I'm really excited to see that happen one day for sure. But I really just love these leaves. I think that they're absolutely gorgeous. That blue tone with that more like cool green kind of center. I just Corey, I just really love these leaves though. And then the back obviously is just so pretty. And like I said, this newer leaf, which you guys are probably having a hard time seeing, right there is a little bit damaged, probably again from just some low humidity and some environmental changes. I was really expecting that one to just kind of look a little bit odd, so it fulfilled my expectations there. However, and this side you'll be able to see it so much easier, I do have already a new growth point coming in. So this new growth point actually already has a green little leaf tip. Come on, there we go. A green little leaf tip poking out, which I am so excited about, and I'm doing my best to try not to damage. A lot of the times when a plant is shifting from environment to environment, they are going to have some adjustments, an adjustment period, and this one definitely has. But I'm hoping that this leaf, when it comes out, will be so pretty and just as gorgeous as the rest of them. So I really been loving my Choco Red this month, and I hope you guys enjoy getting to see it. Okay, so next up on my list doesn't look that impressive, but bear with me. So this is my Anthurium Veitchii, otherwise known as the King Anthurium, and when they're mature they have beautiful ridges all the way down, and they are just gorgeous plants. Mine obviously is a baby. This is its biggest leaf, and it did actually suffer from some underwatering damage, as well as just being in the greenhouse, which got really hot, had low humidity, and just wasn't doing super great outside. So I did bring it inside, and I honestly had thought that this plant was kind of done for, but it made it, it survived, and it's just kind of stayed as is for a while. However, recently it has started putting out growth at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 new growth points, I think. 6. This is its newest leaf, this tiny little shiny thing right there. And yes, it is small, and you know what, that's okay. It's basically starting over. I'm assuming when it, got that underwatering damage and it kind of had that shift in environments and this overheating and all sorts of things, a bunch of leaves die off. I'm thinking that it probably decided that that wasn't a good growth point to grow from anymore, which plants can do. If you think about it, when plants are damaged, they tend to kind of redirect their efforts to a different growth point on that plant. So that's why cuttings, you're able to propagate a plant from cuttings. And that's why plants that you break a piece off of, they put out another growth point. So same deal, I think that that old growth point probably died off or just stopped. And the plant said, okay, let's put out some new growth. So it finally has started putting out new growth, and they're so tiny. Like, I don't even know if I could actually show them to you. And I think this one's actually trapped. I might need to free that a little bit later. But they're so tiny. There's so many around the base of the plant. And what's kind of funny is, even though this is not what I wanted to happen when I bought this plant, I'm gonna end up with such a nice, big, full Anthurium Veitchii. So I really can't complain about that. This plant is in pon. It was one of the first plants I put in pon, and it was kind of a last ditch effort to try to save it because it was having such trouble in the soil that it was in. It got hydrophobic. It was dry. I did not want to rehydrate very well. And yes, I could have soaked it. I could have done, my normal rehydration method, but I have heard that Anthuriums love pon. So in the pursuit of trying to make a very happy Anthurium Veitchii, I put it over in pon. And it doesn't really have a reservoir. This is actually the first one that I did without a reservoir. So when I water it, I do leave just a little bit of water in the bottom, but there's no space for it necessarily. But I actually did see today when I picked it up, there is some new visible root growth on the outside. I don't know that you guys will be able to see this, especially with the algae that's there, but that right above my pointer finger here is actually a new root. So I am so excited to be able to see that and be able to share it with you guys the day that I found it. I think that's really exciting. And to me, especially like a glass vessel lets you see this, but that new growth is an indicator that this plant is happy, it's doing well, and it's going to start kind of putting out some new growth for me. So this is my Anthurium Veitchii, and yes, it's a little bit of a weird one and a little bit crispy, but I'm really excited about it. Next up is one I know you are all familiar with and probably are tired of hearing me talk about, but this is my Monstera Adansonii mint. And I am just so excited about this plant. This is one I never thought I would love, never even thought I would like, and honestly never looked for. This wasn't a plant that I searched out for. This wasn't a plant that I was looking for. It actually came to me in my plant dealer subscription box, and I will link that video up here for you guys. It was my first box that I got, and funny enough, I love this plant. And I think that's honestly the beauty sometimes of getting plants that you didn't expect and maybe weren't looking for, is that they kind of push you outside of your comfort zone just a little bit and let you experience something new, let you get a new plant in your collection that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have gotten. And in my case, a new plant that I love. So this Monstera Adansonii mint was just a little cutting when I got it. It had this bottom leaf here and had this leaf in a cattaphil. And when it started, it had like a little bit of variegation, and that's what the mint part is, by the way, is variegation. It has a little bit of variegation, but not a lot. I've definitely seen some that are like super highly variegated and they are really pretty. However, I really like mine, even though the variegation isn't, extreme or intense by any means. Those first two leaves were really pretty. And then the third leaf that it put out is this one. And this one has much more variegation than the other two. I hope you can see it. It's this one off to the side here. And it had much more variegation than the other two. And I think that was partially due to it being a little bit more light. This is not a plant that likes super bright, intense light, but it does like bright light all day long, if that makes sense. So no direct, but kind of indirect bright light. And I think that was really good for this plant. That was a good move, putting it over there on my part, so go me. The next leaf that just came out, it doesn't have, again, that super intense variegation, but honestly, I'm okay with that. I think this plant is beautiful either way, and it's really just a cool plant to have in my collection. I recently did get the Adansonii, just normal green form, right before actually I got this one, and like I said, I didn't expect to really like it. I kind of always disliked like the holy Monsteras, or the ones that have like this leaf shape and are just filled with holes. They were never my favorites. I always kind of thought they looked weird. And then I got one and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Like they're quite cute, and the mint especially I really like. So I did put it on this poll with you guys in a video as well. And it hasn't, I don't think, started rooting in yet. No, it has not, but it definitely looks happy. So that's all I really care about. Eventually it will root in. Right now I don't think it really has the means to do so. So I'm not really keeping the pool moist, which is probably not helping a whole lot, but it's doing fine without it, so I'm not all that worried. But I did want to share this with you guys because I really, really like this plant and I'm excited to have it in my collection. So the next plant on my favorites list for this past month is I keep on wanting to call it a Rhaphidophora, and it's not. It is a Rhipsalis, there we go, Rhipsalis Paradoxica, or Paradoxa. I only have 2 Rhipsalis in my collection currently. They are jungle cacti, and they are just really cool. This one in specific is really cool because the way that the leaves, I guess you could call them, or like the little vines, they switch back and forth in a kind of almost chain link type pattern. And I'll get it closer so you guys can see, but you can definitely see it on this new growth right here. And I think that is just the coolest thing. This whole bit here that's not super fuzzy, but is like that just green plain area, that is all new growth. And it started putting out growth over here as well. I do have this one under a grow light, and if you watched my whole new plant space video, you would have seen me kind of assembling that area. But the grow light this is under is sorry, I have sick brain this week. If you guys saw my Instagram story or post or whatever this week, I have been really, really sick. This is the first day that I really felt human all week, so I am happy that I got to sit down today for you guys and not a couple days ago when I sounded like I got hit by a truck. Because it was not fun. I did not enjoy it. But this is underneath my Sansi grow light. I kept on wanting to say something else, and it is really happy. It's definitely a little bit thirstier than I thought it was going to be. And granted, the pot that it's in, you know, isn't huge. It is a fairly small little pot, but it's thirstier than I thought it would be even still. I really thought this one was going to be a little bit more like my euphorbia or like my other cacti. And I know that jungle cacti are in a group of their own. They tend to be a little bit more thirsty. They tend to like more humidity, like more water. And I guess I just didn't understand that quite fully until I finally got one. So this one is really cute. I really do enjoy having this one in my collection, honestly. And I would say that if you don't have a Rhipsalis, I would pick one up. Bubs. No. But I would say if you don't have a Rhipsalis, this is your sign to pick one up because they are really, really cool plants. And I think they're a really great addition to any collection, but especially one of my favorites in mine. All right, and the next plant on my favorites list is going to be hard, I think, to get all in one frame here, but this is my Florida Green Beauty. And Florida Green is the non-variegated form, or the green form, of the Florida Beauty Philodendron. And honestly, I really, really like this plant. I think it has such a cool shape. And mine does have a little bit of sunburn just from that Sansi grow light. It is pretty strong if it's right up on there, so be careful of that if you do happen to pick one up. But I really quite like this plant. I think it is so pretty, and it's actually a really, really great grower for me. It's been growing pretty steadily, and if you guys look at the back here, I think you will be able to see all of the roots in this pole. There are actually quite a few of them. It would probably be a little bit more full of those roots if I watered it more frequently. It currently is on the top of one of my shelves, so I don't think that it's really that easy for me to get up and down. I don't think that it gets enough water because of that. But it's a really happy plant, and actually it's a super aggressive and vigorous grower. And what I'm trying to show you without dumping all of this dirt on the floor is it actually has roots coming out of the bottom of this pot. And this was actually a recent repot, like not super recent, but one of my more recent ones. So the fact that this plant has already not necessarily outgrown, but found the drainage hole and grown out of it in a new pot is just wild to me. This spot that it's in though, I don't think it'll be able to be in for too much longer. And I'm sorry about the grumbly corgi in the background. But the spot that it's in, I don't think it'll be able to stay in for too much longer because it is at the top of its pole almost here, and it's at the top of a shelf. So it really doesn't have that much more space to continue to grow up. So I am either going to have to chop it and prop it or extend the moss pole and move it. If I do extend, I'm gonna have to buy more of these poles because as we found out, and I did not expect to find that out in one of my last videos, I'm out of these poles. And I do really like them. I think that they do a great job and they are really nice and tall and pretty sturdy. Though I will say because they're so thick, they can get heavy. So that is something to keep an eye on. But my plants really seem to like these. This one really, really does seem to like this pole. And obviously, you know, it is growing up it really well. I haven't quite figured out the trick to getting short internode spaces on this one yet, I will say. I've given it more light, I've given it less light, and the internode spaces are still fairly long. I don't know, maybe if it needs more consistent even light, if that makes sense. Because right now what it's getting is kind of like spotlights on it because of the way the Santee grow light is kind of aimed. So I might try that next and see if I do extend it, if I can get it to grow a little bit more evenly, if I give it more even bright light rather than just like spotlights. But I do really like this plant, and honestly it catches my eye every single time that I walk past it because it is such a showstopper with these long beautiful petioles, and they do have like that little bit of red at the end, which is just so pretty. And then the leaves that are bright green when they first harden off, and then they get darker green as they get older. It's just one that I love having in my collection and is definitely on my favorites list for this month. So Florida Green, I love her. She is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, and next on my list of favorites for this month is not one that's necessarily, you know, rare or anything like that. It's just one of my personal favorites. I really love pothos. It is one of my probably favorite kind of just general houseplants. It's what I think everyone should own. And this is my Manjula Pothos. And if you guys remember when I got this plant, it was actually a gift from my wonderful, wonderful boyfriend when I wasn't feeling really great, and he got it for me. And it has been so cute and actually a really good grower, even though it has mealies right now, which are the bane of my existence. They are kind of the thorn in the side, splinter in the toe kind of houseplant pest for me. Especially on that wall, they tend to be especially prolific. But this plant is just so cute, and it is still growing. It has some new growth, mostly in the middle, but just these outer leaves, like these two especially, are pretty new. And just look at these, like that is such an unusual looking Manjula. I've seen I see a little bit of like Snow Queen vibes, a little bit of Manjula vibes, and it's just kind of interesting to see those two combined in one plant. I haven't necessarily seen one just like this before, which is why I really enjoy this one so much. And where it's located, it's not something that I can really show off every single day because it is in my bedroom on my pothos wall. So like I don't really see it all the time necessarily, but every time I look at the wall, this is the first one I look to. And part of that is sentimentality because I do love this plant so much for the person who bought it for me. But the other part of it is just that it's a really cool and unique plant. So this is my Manjula Pothos, and again, one of my favorites. I think that this leaf right here especially kind of looks very Manjula-y, but like I said, these are really interesting and unique looking Manjula leaves, and I really love this plant. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, even though it's still a baby and it hasn't grown a whole lot and isn't trailing or anything like that. I really like this one, and I hope you guys too. Okay, and the last plant on my favorites list is probably one you guys are sick of seeing, and honestly, not that I blame you, because I definitely can't, but I'm probably gonna keep showing it anyways, so yeah. This is my Philodendron Majestic, and it is one of my hands down favorite plants in my collection. I absolutely love this plant, and she did try to unalive herself yesterday actually by jumping right off of her shelf. So that was really great. It's partially due to, I think, the way this pole is angled. Like I said, it's really a very stable pole, but can be quite heavy. So it was getting a little heavy for her, I think, and she just jumped right off. And I was so concerned because I really thought that there was going to be some damage, especially because she seemed to land on her newest leaf. I don't know why plants always seem to do that, but no damage that I can see. The growth point looks fine, it looks intact. So that is all good news. But if you guys saw my last video, I did actually repot this plant, or not necessarily even repot, I guess repole this plant. I did cut off a couple of propagations, which I am keeping an eye on. And actually I'll probably share with you guys just so you can kind of see how they're doing. But this one is doing really, really well so far. She did have the roots that were grown into this pole, and that is what this leaf came out of. She, had grown into the pole, and I removed those roots and actually just put her straight into soil, and she seems to be doing really well with that. I know that growing into moss does grow soil roots, and if you don't know, there are different types of roots. So there's water roots, which are acclimatized and most appropriate for growing in water, and they actually don't necessarily transfer to soil really well. And that's not to say that rooting in water is bad. It's not, and rooting in water does give your plant a little bit of a boost when transferring into different mediums. But if you're not transferring to like a hydro medium or like a semi-hydro medium, the transition from water roots to soil roots is really difficult. However, because this plant did get a boost growing in moss, which grows soil roots because of its structure and the way that it holds water and a bunch of other stuff, I'm sure, it did actually acclimate those roots really easily, I think, to the soil. And I haven't even looked, or like I haven't even seen any drooping. Most of the issue that I've had so far has just been, like I said, that it tried to yeet itself off of a shelf. And I was so upset. I just set them out for this video. I turned around to make myself breakfast and I heard something crash, and I'm like, that is my Majestic. I know it's the Majestic, and of course it was. So that's always great, but I love this plant. Like I said, it's one of my very favorites in my whole collection. And I probably say that a lot because I show it a lot, but who can resist this leaf? Like, this leaf is just so pretty. And I'll show you up close because it does have those silvery kind of camo-y splotches like the Soderoy or like the Mammii does at times. The back is a little dirty right now. It got soil on it when it fell, so don't mind that. But the backs, because it is a Veracruzum cross, but the backs have that red in them, which is just absolutely beautiful. And I just love staring at this leaf, and actually there is a smidgen of damage from that fall, but not as bad as I was dreading, so that's okay. I am really interested to see though what this newest leaf is going to look like, so keep an eye out on my Instagram for that. I probably will be posting photos as soon as that leaf unfurls, or even probably as it's unfurling, because I am really excited about it. But this is my Philodendron Majestic, and I'm gonna go grab those propagations real quick to show you guys, just because I want you to see kind of what they look like. No. So these are the other two cuttings or propagations that I took off of that Majestic when I did take it off of its pole and chop it and replant it and do all sorts of stuff. This one was also fully rooted into the pole. And it looked really excellent. If you guys saw, I had to chop, I want to say probably about that much roots off of this plant just to make it fit into here. It is a single node cutting, single leaf, single node, but it looks really good. It looks like it's doing well. I do have it just in my normal kind of chunky mix in this little plastic container, and even this, like, it looks big, but even this was, like I said, too small for this little cutting. So I really hope that it's going to do well. It doesn't really show any signs of stress. Doesn't show that it's, you know, gonna throw a hissy fit or anything, and I'm just kind of critically looking it over as I have the opportunity to do so. But it's looked really good for me so far, and I think this one will do just fine. This one, on the other hand, does look a little bit stressed, obviously. This one was not rooted. So this was kind of a one node cutting or a single node cutting. One might even call it a wet stick soon because this leaf is going to drop. And I kind of expected that. You know, this leaf already had this brown crisp on it. It had gotten sunburned in the greenhouse, which is part of the reason this plant moved back inside. And because of that and this leaf already being damaged, I did kind of have a feeling that it was gonna go, and that's fine. I mean, honestly, there is a growth point on this node. It can put out new growth, and I just have it in a little bit of moss. This moss is pretty damp, and I tried to keep it loose. I'm kind of loosening it up a little bit because I think I compacted it. That is actually something that I've learned, is I tend to pack down my mediums when I am potting things. And for soil, not as big a deal, not the best thing, not the worst thing, because you do want a little bit of air in there for most plants, not all, but most plants that you keep as houseplants, the tropical ones, like that pockets of air in there, because it, you know, allows the roots to get oxygen and all sorts of stuff. And I said that a little weird, but that's fine. But when it comes to moss, when it's compacted and damp, it definitely will squish down pretty well, and I don't want it to get too compact around this node because I don't want it to rot out. So I am hopeful that it will still grow, that it'll still put out a new growth point for me. And if I end up selling it, that would be even better. I wouldn't be upset about that. I've never sold plants before, but you know what? If you guys have plants that are growing really well and you have the ability to chop them and share them with those around you, it's always a good day. So I'm hoping that that's what I'll be able to do with this one, if I can get it to grow for me. So I did try to put it in this pot. It does have drainage, and I'm just gonna water it through on a fairly regular basis whenever it starts to get dry to make sure that there's still moisture. But I'm hopeful that'll work. So fingers crossed for this one. Even though its leaf's about to go, I'm hopeful that I'll get some growth out of it. Alright guys, and that is it for this video. I only had 7 plants this month that I chose to include in my favorites. I have been really busy, so I haven't really been giving a lot of the attention that my plants deserve at times, and I've definitely been kind of kept at a distance by everything that I have to do from my plants, which is unfortunate. But if you've watched my houseplant tour video, you know that if I could sit down and tell you every single one of my favorite plants, there would be all of them. I really love plants, and I love getting to share them with you guys so much. But if you like this kind of video, or you like favorites videos, please leave me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what some of your favorites were this month, because I would love to hear them. I really love talking about plants with you guys, and it really brightens my heart to get to see comments about you guys' plants. So I would love that. And there is a subscribe button down there. I would love to see you guys around more often. I do post weekly, so I would love to see, you know, interact with you guys more. But I think that's it for today's video. So thanks so much. Bye.